That's a happy life.
Every boy and every girl.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, I'm
Hello,
Olivia.
I'm Amy, and this is Girls Gone
Girls Gone
Spooky.
Spooky.
I always say it so
Um,
fast, and you
no,
come
it
in with
was
the slow.
perfect. She's coming in real slow and sultry with it. Um, dumb. Amy and I were just catching up on what shows we're watching, and there's one more I forgot to tell you about. So we're both
Okay.
watching Ted Lasso. We both watched Shrinking. These are all Apple
Mhm.
TV shows, actually, weirdly
Yeah.
enough, which is like not a service I used to like, and now I'm
Yeah.
like, this is fire.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed. Same.
and then I was recommending Big Door Prize, which is very
Yes.
funny and very sweet. But the other show I just started, and my brother is appalled that I'm on season 1, episode 1, is Succession.
That is so weird because Dave is watching Succession now. Like he just started.
Really?
Yeah.
Like today?
Like yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh my god, that's so weird. I just started it today.
Yeah. I
It's
guess
so good.
I need to
I just
try
have
it.
heard, yeah, I've just heard so much about it, and like I've heard mixed things. Like Noah tried watching it like 3 different times. He's like, I just can't get into it. But most
Mhm.
people we talk to are like, if you're not immediately taken with it, give it 5 episodes, and then it like
Mhm.
picks up, and then it's like you're like
Okay.
addicted to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I liked it from the jump. Like it's
Mhm.
dramatic, it's fucking funny, it's like really dark. And I think
Yeah.
that's maybe why I like it. It's got a lot of these like really dark, like sibling kind of
Mhm.
dynamics. And like the family's just like, they're all bad people. So
Yeah.
it's like you go into it knowing that and you're like, oh, this
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
it's really good. I
I
really
should
like
tune
it.
in.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
will say, dodging the spoilers on the internet is
Mhm.
challenging. So
Okay.
just be aware of that.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like yesterday on the airplane, um, these two ladies spoiled Love is Blind for me. I hadn't watched it yet.
No,
And they were just giving away every detail right behind me.
no. Oh my
So,
God. That's so annoying. That's
but yeah,
so
I
annoying.
managed to dodge it on Instagram, which is also kind of a
Yeah.
feat.
Very
But
difficult.
then uh, there they
Especially with
were.
Love is Blind, because it's like photos give a lot away for
Right.
that
Yeah.
show.
Yep.
God damn it. Well,
Classic.
honestly, it's worth a watch anyway
Okay.
because it's so dramatic and like there are a lot of twists and turns.
Mhm.
So I'm sure they gave away a lot of them, but even just watching them unfold, like you can predict every single plot twist,
Okay.
maybe except for the actual altar, but like, yo, that show is wild.
Yeah. I
Wild.
don't know why it's so good because
It's so bad. Yeah,
they're
I know.
so and they're not particularly good people
No,
except
they're
for
not likable.
Brett and Tiffany are likable,
Yeah, sweet angels.
but yeah, the
Yeah.
rest could do without.
Yeah, kind of trashy humans. Noah
Mhm.
sent me an article too today that was from that Jezebel
Oh
publication, which
yeah.
is like so sketchy, but
Mhm.
it was referencing an interview from Insider. Like all of the like factual stuff was from Insider.
Yeah.
Um, and it was all about how like toxic the set is in
Mhm.
terms of like how the producers and like APs like force them to stay up like 20 hours a day and like
Mhm.
don't provide like water or food, really, like very limited, but like always alcohol, and are like topping up
Wow.
their drinks and like gnarly.
Yeah.
So
So they
I
want
thought that was
them
interesting. They want
vulnerable
them
and
like,
at their
yeah,
worst.
yeah, like emotionally on
Ugh.
the edge. And
Mm.
then one of the girls, remember the girl Danielle from I think season 2 or 3? She was
Oh,
with
with the
Nick.
black hair, blue
Uh,
eyes.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Mhm.
She at one point, I guess, like went, like did an interview and said that um, she like passed out at one point and then woke
Oh.
up and was having like kind of a panic attack. She was like feeling so ill. And
Mhm.
instead of like getting her medical attention, they forced her to do a confessional interview.
Wow.
Like cruel
That's
shit.
like dangerous
I
if
know.
something
I
was
know.
really wrong with her.
I know.
Oh
I know.
boy.
And I was thinking for someone with like an underlying condition too, like epilepsy, for example, like if you push someone to the edge like that and then you keep pushing them, it's like,
it's dangerous.
It's really dangerous. And the company, it's called like Kinetic Entertainment or something like that. They're the company that like owns the IP, I think, of the whole concept of the show, and who like, I think they run it alongside Netflix. They have some disclaimer that's like, we prioritize the health of our cast and crew above all else. Like there's counseling and support before, during, after, blah, blah, blah. And they're all like, oh, there is zero support. Like one of the couples from season 2 that like got married and then got divorced, they were saying like, we kept like asking for help. Like we're trying to fix this marriage that you've pressured us into. And it was just like radio silence. And they would like, especially female cast members, when they'd be like, oh, I'm feeling really insecure. Like I'm not feeling good on camera. The associate producers were told to not speak to them.
What?
Just ignore them.
Why?
Like,
to what end?
Feeling faster to create more drama.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Isn't that awful?
That's terrible. I hope that they have to make changes now, because I really like watching this show. I don't want it to get ruined.
I know, knowing that it's like a human rights violation.
Yeah, it is. That's terrible.
For our entertainment. I know. It's horrible. No. I was like, huh?
Yikes. Did Noah watch with you?
Well, I made him watch the last episode, like at the altar, and then the after the altar, and he was just like the whole time like, this is so fucking stupid. But I think he was
did he secretly enjoy it?
I think a little, like he wouldn't admit it, but I think he enjoyed it. He loves making fun of how dumb it is, which like same. That's half the fun.
That's why you watch it.
Yeah. And then we got into a conversation about it's like that TikTok thing or like Instagram thing where it's like, would you love me if I were a worm?
Yep.
And we went down the rabbit hole on that. And now I like, because he was like, what do you mean? Like, he was like, would you be a little worm or would you be like a human-sized worm? And I was like, ew. And I was like, no, like a little, like an earthworm. And he was like, no. And I was like, no. And he was like, what do you want me to say? I was like, you say you would dedicate your life and every last penny of your resources to finding a witch doctor to change me back. Like, what do you mean? This is cut and dry. And he was like, Jesus. And then, but now when he's least expecting it, I go into his ear and I say, I'll never forget what you said about me being a worm. Oh, and then he said, can you talk? And I was like, yeah. So you know it's me. It's not just like, oh, there happens to be a worm in my girlfriend's a worm. And I'm like, oh. And he was like, I'd monetize you. And I was like, oh. And he was like, okay. Listen, I love you. I would spend a year trying to get you back to you. And at that point, I'd bring you to Julia and be like, listen, we could make millions. But I can't do this on my own. I was like, so then we called my mom. And I was like, I need you to weigh in. And Noah in the back is like, this is so stupid.
Come on.
My mom kind of sided with Noah. And I was like, that's cold. Yeah. And she was like, listen, you're a worm. She's like, he'd probably present you to me and I'd be like, ew, and like knock you on the floor and squish you. And then he'd be like, that was your daughter. And then I'd feel terrible that I just killed my worm daughter.
Oh no.
And I was like, well, think twice before you squish a worm.
Because you just never know.
You never know.
Really don't. But
could be now worm, former girl, right. Just trying to get back.
That's true. And our podcast would blow up if we had a little worm girl.
We'd be like number one right above Joe Rogan. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
We'd knock him down a peg.
We'd knock him down a peg for sure. Yeah, what a concept, eh?
Yeah. I'd
Little
still love
worm
you if you
girl.
were a worm.
Thank you. See, like, and he was like, this is so stupid. Oh, and then he was like, have you seen those photos up close, like microscopic photos of a worm's teeth? And I was
Yes.
like, no. And he was like, sent them to me out of nowhere today. And
Mhm.
I was like, ew. And I was like, no, I wouldn't look like this. I'd be like a cute cartoon worm. He's like, you can have your hypotheticals, but we're going to be anatomically correct. And I was like,
Okay.
listen. He's like, or I could just put you in a cage and start dating. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow. He's cutthroat.
He's cutthroat. I was like, listen, it's a silly hypothetical question, so you give a silly hypothetical answer. You dedicate your life to conjuring me back into a woman. And he was
Simple as
like,
that.
okay. He was like, I'm not going to do that, though. So now I have to remind him, I'll never forget what you said about me as a worm.
He should never live it down. Never forget.
I agree. That's going to go in, like, someday if we get married, that's going to go in my wedding vows. I'm going to be like, but I'll never forget. When he goes in to kiss me, you may now kiss me. Like, I'll never forget what you said. I'm your worm wife now.
Yeah, now it's not just a girlfriend. You have to deal with a wife.
Wife. Just lord it over him for the rest of our lives. It's gonna be great. I love that for me.
Perfect.
Anyway.
Wow.
Wow. Here we go. Okay, it's kind of spooky because we talked about witch doctors for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
And also suddenly turning into a worm.
Transfiguration. Yeah.
Transfiguration, exactly. So today's episode, you guys, is Home Alone Hauntings. Spooky Home Alone. We're going like Macaulay Culkin, but make it paranormal.
Yeah, which is scary.
And do I have some fucking content for you? I have a lot of content.
Yeah, I saw.
I really went hard. Should I just get into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Because actually, I should have said this off air, but I'm seeing a movie in an hour.
Fun. Okay, we're going. We're doing it. Okay. Starting with a BuzzFeed roundup.
Yes.
I was trying to sleep when my ex got out of bed to prepare for work. Sometimes he'd work out before showering, but for some reason he decided to work out in the bedroom. His breathing was really heavy and raspy, but I was really tired and tried to keep sleeping. I hadn't opened my eyes yet, but couldn't fall back asleep. His breaths were so weird that I got mad. I turned over and opened my eyes to tell him to shut up, only to find nobody in the room. The breathing had just suddenly stopped. I got a really chilling feeling, and then I got up to find that he had been upstairs in the shower the whole time.
Oh, God. How do you recover?
I don't know. Don't like it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, don't like it. And that was from Cats and Alcohol 13. The second one is from TH4AB. My parents had just left for a road trip, and I sat down at my desk. I thought, weekend alone by myself, and a voice yelled into my ear, "No," so loud that it hurt.
What?
I would be so scared. I would be so scared.
Yeah, why would they be so opposed to a weekend alone?
A ghost, because they're not really alone.
Yeah, okay.
Man.
That makes sense.
I mean, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah. This next one is from Yuck11. Yuck11. Or Yuck11, maybe. Who knows?
Oh.
I used to sleep with my door closed. One night, I heard it creak open. Are you ready? This is like a throwback to an OG topic.
Okay.
When I opened my eyes, I could only make out a figure of a tall man wearing a hat and coat. He just sat on my bed and stared at the door. This went on for several minutes before he got up and left. I don't have many memories of my childhood, but this one I remember very well.
Yikes. For several minutes?
Yeah.
Oh.
Those would be the most paralyzing minutes of your whole fucking life. I mean, would you ever recover? I would never recover from that.
No.
I would never recover from that.
Yeah, Hat Man.
No way.
He's like a sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, or a shadow person, or
Oh,
who
yeah, that's
knows?
right. Okay.
Who
Ooh,
knows what he is? Yeah, not good.
scary. Mm-mm.
This is from Blackest Hearted. Not home alone, but upstairs alone. I was sitting on my bed and looked up when I heard my mom coming up the stairs. She walked right by my door, looked straight at me with no
Oh,
expression,
no.
and walked into her room and then closed the door. I'd said hi as she passed, but figured whatever, she didn't hear me. And then about 5 seconds later, she yells up from downstairs, "Did you call me?"
Oh,
I'm not
God.
ashamed to say I freaked the fuck out. She came upstairs, looked down the hall, and asked, "Did you close my door?"
Oh, God.
Neither of us did because one of our cats would come and go in there as she pleased. Mom said
Mm.
she had very clearly heard me yell, "Hey, Mom, come here," from upstairs, and I had done no such thing.
Ew.
I'm never
No.
entirely sure. Yeah, I'm never entirely sure what I believe and what I don't, but I was totally sober and not tired. I'm pretty
Mm.
sure I saw a doppelganger of my mom and she heard mine.
Oh, God. Was she trying to lure them somewhere?
I don't know,
Ooh.
man.
By pretending to be each of them? Oh,
Yeah, I
God.
don't know.
Scary.
Yeah. This one's from Rhinestone Eyes. When I was younger, I used to live in a super Rhinestone Eyes.
Yeah.
I used to live in a super old, shitty house in the middle of the woods. Terrible start. There was a small clearing with an average sized yard, and the rest was thick woods. One night, I was walking up to our gate to go inside, and I saw a tall figure looking into my bedroom window. My light was on, which was weird because I hadn't been in there or turned it on, but I could see this figure with its face and hands pressed up against my window. Whoever or whatever it was must have heard me because they looked in my direction before booking it to the back of the yard and
Oh.
presumably into the woods since there was literally nowhere else to go. I never slept in that room again.
Oh, God. What are
So
you
fucking
looking at?
creepy. Sorry, nothing. I just needed to
Okay.
roll down a bit.
Okay.
She thinks this is going to cause wreak havoc.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
classic.
Watching you
Um,
look around. Spooky.
spooky. Um, okay. Okay. Um, where am I? Oh, in high school, this is from Exo OX. In high
Great
school,
names.
love these usernames.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, I'd usually stay up all hours of the night playing games. I had a large dog who would sleep in my room at night, and it was 2 a.m. I was finally ready to head to bed, but my dog wasn't with me. So I ventured out to find him. I made my way across the house to the kitchen. We had an island in the kitchen with a stool that the junk mail was usually kept on. I called for my dog and saw him walk from behind the island to the dining room table set, knocking all of the junk mail down. I flipped the light on to pick it up. No dog. I freaked out and scrambled back across the house, finding my dog in my parents' room. The next day, I regaled the story to my parents and younger sister, who often had claimed to see things in that house. And my sister goes, "Oh, that tall black thing? Sometimes it
Ugh.
likes to crawl around on all fours." Big fucking no.
Oh, oh my God.
I would be
She,
terrified.
yeah, so casual about that.
So casual,
Oh,
dude.
that
So
tall black
casual.
thing?
Oh, likes to
Yeah,
just crawl around on all fours. No
no
problem.
big deal. Oy.
Yeah. Okay, this is from Babisha. I was 17 years old, home alone from Thursday to Sunday with our family's dog, who was pretty small and starting to have some trouble climbing the stairs in his old age. Oh.
Oh.
Um, I'd been working every morning. I came home from my shift on a Friday, and the kitchen table was a mess. Napkins were taken from their holder, the mail was on the kitchen floor, salt and pepper shakers were on the other side of the kitchen, and one of the chairs was pulled all the way out from the table. Our dog's literally never done anything like that, messed up the kitchen, and I'd be especially surprised if he was even capable of climbing up on top of the table, given his age. So I put everything back in place. Saturday, I came back to find the exact same
Whoa.
messy configuration. That night, I was convinced there was going to be a ghost coming to get me, and I slept horribly. Sunday, I left for work and made sure everything was in order because I knew my parents would be back before I was out of work or like off from work. On my lunch break, I called my mom and she went, "Why did you leave everything such a mess?"
Oh no.
My old dog couldn't have done it. I don't think he was strong enough to move the chair or climb on the table. Only time anything like that has ever happened to me while alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes. I wonder what the dog was experiencing
Mm-hmm.
while that was happening. Poor dog.
Yeah. Okay, this one is SM River Song. I was awake by myself one Saturday morning. My mom was home sleeping in, but my dad had gone fishing at the lake. I was watching cartoons and making a fort out of the sheets and cushions. Something made me turn around and I saw my dad wearing his pajamas in the hallway entrance. He had his hands on his hips, looking at the mess I was making and shaking his head. He turned around and walked into my room. I didn't even look. I just booked it to my parents' room and woke my mom up. I don't remember what happened after that. This was about 35 years ago. And yes, my dad was fine. Nothing had happened to him. So it was again like another like weird doppelganger
Yeah.
thing.
Those are so creepy.
I know. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, this is Homelander 44. I got up in the middle of the night to pee and happened to glance out the window to my backyard to see a glowing yellow figure that
Oh.
looked like it was collecting soil samples.
It's an alien.
100%. I absolutely shat myself and bumped into the sink. The figure stopped what it was doing and looked at me.
Oh. Uh-oh.
I bolted back to my room and woke my wife. This is an adult.
Yeah.
I bolted back into my room and woke my wife, and when we went back to look, it was gone. The funniest part is I've told this story to other people, and the wife of a friend of mine burst into tears when I told her and said she had seen the same exact thing when she was a child, but nobody believed her.
Whoa. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah.
That's hard evidence of
Yeah.
aliens.
Hard evidence of alien life, I'm telling you.
Wow. Crazy.
One is literally just this: footsteps on the roof at my friend's house, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
That's from Explosive Disassembly. Okay. This is from Satan with Fur. Hands down the best. Hands down the best.
Yeah.
They say I wasn't home alone, but I was the only one on the right side of the house at the time. I went to my mom's bathroom to wash my hands and saw a pair of feet behind the half open door. I laughed and said, "Very funny, Mom. I see you," then finished up and left. And then I bumped into my mother in the kitchen unpacking, and no one else was in the house.
Oh my God.
I'm glad whatever was behind the door didn't peek out. So, I mean, they must have looked through the whole house after that. So there wasn't anyone there, but like there was something there.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of that story of the wife that smiles, like peeking out, smiling.
That story scared my dad so bad. He's like, that is so scary. And hearing Amy read it was even scarier.
My gentle voice didn't
Yes. No, it's scarier. Okay, this is MC such and such. When my daughter was still an infant, our dog and I went to our apartment while our dog and I were at our apartment while my wife was at work. I was sitting on the couch watching TV and my daughter was asleep on a blanket on the floor. Our dog was about 10 feet away and he started making these low guttural growling sounds. I figured that he had heard someone in another apartment, so I didn't think much of it. As a few seconds passed and I noticed that it's getting much louder, I can see out of the corner of my eye that he had lifted his head up off his paws, his ears were perked up, and he was looking up at the ceiling above where my daughter was laying. I looked up, didn't see anything, and told him to knock it off. He jumped up and started circling my sleeping daughter and growling more and more intensely, even stopping once and outright snarling and snapping his teeth, all while staring up at the ceiling. After about 2 minutes of this, me having absolutely no clue what to do since I couldn't see anything, he laid down right next to my daughter and rested his head on her back and stayed there for almost an hour, still intently staring up at the ceiling and occasionally growling. To this day, I have no idea what the hell was going on or what he saw or sensed. It was extremely creepy to me.
I agree. I'm sure I've told the story on here of Bo scaring the death. He scared me to death.
I think so. Wait, retell it though, because now I'm not remembering.
It was in the house that I think is haunted, my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I was home alone, typical.
Mm-hmm. Of
And
course.
he was with me, Bo the dog, was with me in my room. And he started
Oh.
barking at the ceiling, like
Mm-hmm.
exactly like that, and staring. And I was getting angry. I was like, Bo, stop. And then
Yeah.
he started growling and he backed out of the room and started barking, but like he was staring at me so intently, like,
Yeah.
come out here, kind
Come
of was the
on.
message I was getting. And that scared me to death.
Did you leave
Dogs
your
just
room?
see, oh yeah. I didn't go back up there until
Booked it.
like midday the next day.
Yeah.
I went and
Fuck
slept in my
that.
parents' bed. Not
Fuck
acceptable.
that. This
Yeah.
one's particularly creepy. I was
Okay.
laying in my bed. This is Things Fall Apart 89. It's nice and short. I was
Mm-hmm.
laying in my bed on my phone in the dark, and a finger crept
Oh.
over the top of the screen. What did they do? I just dropped my phone and rolled over.
What a weird
Nerves of
reaction.
steel. Nerves
Yeah.
of fucking steel. Like, how?
A
How is that
finger.
possible?
Wow. I don't
Terrifying.
know.
Yeah,
Yikes.
I don't know. Okay, I had a couple other sources that I'm gonna skip over because they're just like not as good as some of the others.
Okay.
I did want to flag that there's an article in the New York Times about um, hauntings during quarantine
Yeah.
that was like so interesting, called Quarantining with a Ghost. It's scary. So definitely go check that out if you're into that. I like thought that one was so like
Yeah.
funny and interesting.
Yeah. I
Um,
can imagine people were seeing more because they were home all the time.
for sure, for sure. And
Interesting.
then I also wanted to quickly do a shout out to two other things. One is there's that company called The Haunted Walk that does a lot of like haunted walks through cities and
Mhm.
stuff. Their branding is super cute. It's literally
Hmm.
hauntedwalk.com if you're interested in it. They have a
Yeah.
Haunted Talks podcast, which I hadn't heard,
Oh.
but it looks cute and I might check it out.
Yeah.
But they have something called The Haunting at Home. And it's like a
Oh.
2 hour, they say to do 2 hours. It's like $20.
Mhm.
And you basically like download, they have like a sample on their website of like the audio and stuff, and it like takes you through like different experiments.
Hmm.
And I've bought
Wow.
tickets through this haunted walk company before to go see, what was it, that like house that I went to, that like haunted, or no, not the haunted house, a haunted theater, the
Mm.
Elgin and
Oh
Winter
yeah.
Theater, I think it was called.
Mhm.
um so that one was, I bought through Haunted Walk too. So it's just, I just
Okay.
thought it was interesting.
Cool.
But people were like, there are people who wrote in like their testimonials. So like
Mhm.
Sarah from Williamsburg, Virginia said, my animals were with me during this entire process, and at 2 points during the session my dog sat up, eyes wide, ears forward, looking straight at me. He did
Oh.
not bark, act afraid or aggressive, but seemed to sense something was about to happen.
Hmm.
um
Interesting.
Someone from Orangeville, Ontario said, right when we started and before any experiments, one participant sensed the presence of a male and smelled cologne. The most significant and exciting part was the automatic writing. There were 4 of us participating and we all received messages. Most interesting was that 2 of the 4 had matching words and dates.
Whoa. Weird.
Weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Um, and like some people do it in like certain locations. So like Danielle and Holly, who are hosts of the Spooky Hour podcast, they did it together, and they like are going to try in different locations now. So
Mm.
it was like scary and fun. I don't know. It's just kind of like, it's a cute
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. That is
Um,
cool.
yes. Okay. So I have a few more stories, and then I have one thing to like close out my section,
Okay.
which is like probably one of the scariest things I've ever seen on the internet. So
Oh
we'll
God.
post it on our Instagram. It's not
Okay.
scary in that anything like really happens, but you're just looking at it and you're like, how can that be? How can that possibly fucking be?
Oh God.
So
Okay.
I'll get to
I
that.
can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So this is a roll up from Thought Catalog from
Mm.
2019.
Mhm.
Um, So this took place in my backyard when I was a kid. My mom had made a tree swing by putting a large log across two trees that were split at the top in a Y shape. A rope hung down from the middle of the log, and there was a little wooden slab to sit and swing on. I was out there swinging away when suddenly, before I knew what had happened, I was pulled backwards and found myself laying on the dirt. I looked up just in time to watch the log that was holding the swing split and come crashing down. I had used the swing a billion times, and where I landed wasn't even reachable at maximum swinging capacity. I looked up and no one was around. The feeling of being pulled back is permanently logged in my brain. So that was almost like a good one that it like kind of saved them from maybe getting hurt.
Yeah. Wow. That is good.
In fall 2016, I moved into half of a really old house. It was built in the 1880s, a stone's throw from the original campus of Indiana University, which is now a park filled with homeless people and drug addicts, unfortunately. The owners basically turned it into a weird duplex. My friend had lived in it right before I moved in, and he claimed it was haunted, but I didn't really believe him because he was kind of a weird guy. Anyway, the layout of the house was weird. You walked in the door and were in a living room type space, and then you kept walking and there was a doorway to a bedroom, and past that was the kitchen. No doors, only door inside the apartment was to the bathroom and one that led to the shared basement. So my first night there was uneventful. So just like very open, kind of like there are rooms and doorways, but like not a lot of doors. My first night there was uneventful. I was a little uncomfortable because I hadn't lived by myself in a long time and was just feeling lonely and kind of on edge. I stayed up late and then eventually fell asleep, but woke up again around 3 a.m. Cliche, I know. What woke me up was what sounded like a group of drummers drumming on every flat surface of the living room. It went on for a while and I was completely terrified. It was just a cacophony of sound. After about 2 or 3 minutes, I finally gathered up the balls to get up and check on it. And as soon as I passed the threshold to the living room, it just stopped. Nothing happened the rest of the night, but I didn't get much sleep. A couple of days later, a friend was visiting and he was about to leave. We were standing by the front door next to my bookshelf, and I told him about how I was having trouble sleeping, and of course, the story from the first night. As I was saying this, a book threw itself off the bookshelf and onto the floor 3 feet away. It had to It had to fly past the dresser the shelf was perched on and landed between the two of us. He just gave me a super creeped out look and said, "I gotta go."
Great friend.
Yeah, which I don't blame him. Eventually, I asked the guy in the other half what was up, because it was a duplex, as he had lived there for about 8 years. He told me that no one ever stayed longer than a year, and they all reported the same shit. For whatever reason, he said nothing has ever happened on his side. Doesn't really make sense, but there it is.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
A ghosty drum circle.
Ghosty drum circle.
A bunch of bongos.
Yeah, exactly. When I was about 13, I spent the night over at my cousin's house. We were home alone for the night and stayed up late playing video games. I remember he left the room to use the restroom, and I must have been playing something good because I was sitting on the edge of the bed close to the TV. As I played by myself, I felt my cousin come back in the room from behind me, and as he laid down on the bed, it gave me a little bounce as if he had jumped on, bed squeak and all. When I turned back to say something to him, though, he wasn't there. He was still in the restroom. So I looked down on the bed where I thought I had felt him land, and there was an imprint on the bed coming back up, like if someone had been there and were just coming up off of it. Yeah. And he goes on to say I have a lot more stories about that house, but that's the one that like really shook me the most.
Yeah. Wow.
I was watching TV on the couch with the dog around noon or so, and suddenly she perks up, the hair on the back of her neck standing on end, beginning snarling at the corner of the room. This dog, who was a previous abuse victim and scared of her own shadow, hesitant to ever bark or attack, was in a position to lunge. Right at that moment, I hear clear, defined footsteps walk from my roommate's room across the hall, right into my line of vision. No one is there, but I'm looking directly at the source of the sound. The dog is entirely on the defensive, but her tail is tucked between her legs at the same time. Immediately following this, the room got really cold for a few seconds, and it took her a long time to lay back down. Never had any other paranormal experiences in that house, nor really ever in my life. And the suddenness of it just really freaked me out.
Wow. Yeah.
One time I was about 8, back when kids were allowed to run free in our country neighborhood. I came back early from playing with some neighbors and went to sleep on the couch as I was tired from running. My parents thought I was still at the neighbor's house, so they left to go to the store. When I woke up, it was dark and the power had gone out, which was just like, that's already so jarring and scary as a kid. I climbed off the couch and started calling for my mom when I started hearing noises from the basement, which I never went down to anyways because it scared the shit out of me at that age. It was a scratching noise, like something with claws was dragging against the concrete floor. Naturally, I was scared shitless, so I ran back to the couch, climbed into a hole underneath the cushions, and waited until my parents got home. It only took them about 20 minutes, but as an 8-year-old scared of being eaten by a basement monster, it felt like hours.
Oh, wow. I can picture that feeling when you're young.
100%.
The basement is so scary. Or
So
anything
scary.
really.
Yeah,
So
a dark
scary.
room. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was sitting in our living room watching TV one night and no one else was home. In the kitchen, we have a refrigerator that has dual doors to open and a lot of decorations all over it, including a small magnetic chime thingy. I'm sitting there when I hear the chimes ringing slightly, so I mute the TV and listen, thinking maybe a family member was home. Nothing happened, so I turn the volume back up, keep watching TV. A minute later, I hear what sounds like someone sneezing in our kitchen, but it didn't really sound like any of my family members. So I kind of tensed up and thought someone maybe had broken in. I'm shaking at this point, but I'm being quiet and just listening. A few moments go by and I hear the refrigerator doors open and then slam shut so hard I can hear glass jars inside rattling. I ran in the kitchen ready to whoop someone's ass, but there was nothing. I told my family about it and they said I was just paranoid, but we've definitely had guests come over to the house and say it feels very weird in there.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Okay, well, second to last one, I guess, because I have that one last one to end on.
Yes.
I was home alone one night in middle school. I was in my room, which is right above our kitchen, watching TV. I had already shut off all the lights downstairs because I was eventually going to fall asleep and didn't want to get yelled at for leaving the lights on. So I'm laying in my bed, and the family dog, a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, cute, was lying next to me when I hear cabinet doors open and shut. It wasn't like they all opened at once and then shut, but more like one after another for a few seconds. So I froze and looked at the dog, who at this point was really an old lady, but she had perked up and was looking at me. I peek out my window that overlooks the driveway and don't see anything. Now, I didn't think anyone was in the house because while the dog was lazy as fuck, she was a great guard dog, and she would have responded if the door was opened. So after a few seconds, the dog gets up and starts moving towards the stairs, so I decide to follow, fully confident that if anyone was down there, she'd probably scare them. But I grab my baseball bat and my cell phone and follow her. As we come downstairs, I notice the lights are on in the kitchen, so I dial 911 because I know I shut the lights off prior to going upstairs. When we get in the kitchen, all the cabinet doors were wide open, which was obviously not how I left it. And that's when I noticed that the door was still locked. So I thought whatever did this was still in the house. I quickly ran upstairs to my parents' closet and called my parents and told them what was up. They came home and obviously didn't find anyone or any trace of someone being in the house. We still don't know why the light was on and the cabinet doors are open, but we definitely had some other paranormal occurrences happen around that time, so we chalked it up to the household ghost.
Sounds like a ghost to me.
Creepy. And this last one was featured in Newsweek, but it's actually content from, of course, TikTok. So the headline is Woman Home Alone spots, quote, ghost in reflection as creepy figure goes viral. So she's talking to the camera and she's sitting on her couch and she's like, I'm so confused at what is happening and I'm getting kind of creeped out. I'm sitting here on the couch and she kind of shows the phone to either side of the couch. I'm sitting here alone on my couch. And you know when your TV is off, it's sort of a mirror to a degree.
Yeah.
So she's like, but when I flip my phone around and look in the TV, and then she does that, there is like a full ass person sitting next to her. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And she's like, here's me, and like waves. And she's like, and I don't know who this is. Like, so fucking creepy.
Wow.
So fucking creepy.
And she's just sitting there.
And she's so calm about the whole thing. I'll send it to you. We'll post it on our Instagram, but I'll send it to you after this.
Yeah.
There's no jump scare. I was like really like afraid that it was going to be like or something and like really scare me. There's none of that.
Okay.
But it's just like, what? Like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like, it's really weird. It looks like someone like with like kind of like facing at an angle away from her, like sort of with their back to her, like with their knees kind of up on the couch.
Ew.
Like their feet up.
Scrunched position.
Not creepy scrunched, like the Grudge kind of vibe, but like just sitting, like comfortably sitting on the couch. It is so fucking weird.
That is so weird. And it's only on the reflection of the TV.
Yeah.
It's like a look into the next dimension or something.
100%. It's kind of like that. Like, it's like, I don't know that that's a ghost or if that you're like, there's a glitch in the Matrix.
Right.
Like, what is that?
Parallel
it's really
universe.
Weird.
You're seeing into it. Ooh.
Real weird. So
creepy.
Yeah. Enjoy that.
Wow.
Enjoy that. So those are mine.
Oh man, those were good. And that last one just reminded me, I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for saying this, but I heard it from my sister, and no one needs to know any further details other than that she met somebody who told her that he knows how to access other dimensions. He also claimed to be an alchemist who has turned water into gold, and that he is a reincarnated engineer from Atlantis.
I'm sorry.
So, I hope I don't get in trouble for sharing that story, but I was like...
That's a lot of claims to fame.
Yeah, it is. And I also would love to talk to him. Like,
yeah, same. Can we interview him?
I know.
Can we get him on the show? Or...
I mean, he seems like an interesting guy. Either really interesting or totally, like, insufferable to talk to.
Totally.
There's no middle ground.
But, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. Anyway.
Full send.
Yeah.
Full send.
So, I have some more stories.
Yay.
Just a few, and I think these are all from Reddit, but it was another, like, compilation
yeah.
From Distractify. So, this one's from Captain Kershaw. It goes, I spoke to the ghost of my great-grandmother on the telephone. I didn't recognize her voice because she had died over 60 years before I was born, but a very elderly-sounding lady called and calmly told me to tell Essie it's time to come home now. I kept telling her she had the wrong number, but she was adamant that I pass along the message. 2 hours later, my grandmother's assisted living home called and told us that my grandmother, Esther, had passed away in her sleep.
Oh my God, I have...
Yeah, I know.
That's so sweet.
It is a sweet one. Yeah, her mother had died when she was 16, and Essie was my grandmother's childhood nickname. This was 25 years ago, and thinking about it still makes the hair on my neck stand on end. But maybe in a good way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like spooky because it's like almost like confirming something on the other side that's like very personal, right? Yes. Like not just like, oh, ethereal, like heaven or whatever, but like, oh no, like your great grandma's calling her daughter home.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And like when people say they're watching over you, maybe they really are watching over you.
Yeah, like, totally.
Every mistake you make.
That's
kind of yikes. But
a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Okay, this one, she's not fully alone, but it's two sisters home alone from Celery Sticks. So
such good usernames tonight.
I know. My sister and I were downstairs watching a movie when her phone starts to ring. When she checks it, my number shows up, but my phone was upstairs in my room charging.
Ew.
That was
Don't like that.
Unnerving, she writes. Yeah, very unnerving. One from Shatterly. That's their username. I spent 6 months living alone in a cabin near the end of a dirt road in central New Hampshire. Nearest neighbors were a 1/4 mile or so up or down the road. It's an area where people definitely keep to themselves. Had all sorts of animal visitors, bears on the porch, you name it, but never random people around. One morning, I went out to my car to go to work. It was spring and we'd had a late frost. On the rear window of my truck, someone had written, "I watch you," with their finger in the frost. And I don't know if that's a person or a ghost, but I included it because it's really scary.
Ew, that's really creepy. Also, if it's in the
Yeah,
frost, it has to be kind of fresh, right?
right. Yeah, that's true. Spooky. Okay, let's see. Sorry, lost my spot. Okay. Many Ranger 4. This is kind of similar to one that you told, but it's so spooky. I lived in an apartment by myself, and every once in a while I'd be about to fall asleep when I'd feel a weight next to me. It felt as if someone else had gotten into bed with me.
Nope.
At the
No
time,
thanks.
I was dating a woman who would sleep over from time to time, but I never mentioned this to her. One night, while she was over, I had to leave due to a family emergency. I told her it's okay if she sleeps at mine alone, if she would like, and that I would be back the next day. I get home that morning and she tells me, "The weirdest thing happened last night. As I was falling asleep, I thought you had come home and gotten into bed with me because I felt someone get into bed on the other side, but when I opened my eyes, you weren't here." Freaked me out. Yeah, not good.
No, actively not good.
Yeah, and these people are so casual about things.
I
Like he
know.
says, sometimes I just feel this weight get in my
Yeah,
bed.
well,
Just
just like
deal
someone
with
getting
it.
in bed with me. Cool,
Yeah,
cool, cool, cool.
whatever. Yeah, they're braver than I am, I guess.
Truly, same.
Okay, last little, actually not last, but last from this collection, from Chemical Actuary 190. When I lived alone, I came home from work and walked into the kitchen. I noticed black dots in the dining room window and drapes. I walked over to check it out and saw 30 or so flies on the window and drapes. They weren't flying around or moving at all. The window was open about an inch or so, but no tears in the screen or any other gap they could have gotten in through.
Ew.
The windows in the rest of the house were all closed too. No flies in the other rooms of the house, just on this one single window. I had taken the trash out that morning, so they didn't come from there. It reminded me of the Amityville horror,
Yeah.
which, yikes.
Ew.
So that's more like demonic,
Yeah.
potentially, than ghosty.
Yeah, totally.
But then the last source that I was using is from New York Times again. And it's funny, they have more ghost content than I thought. Like
I
this
know.
article led me to a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
So it's called How to Live with a Ghost. Which I think that title is a little bit misleading because they don't really talk about how to live with a ghost, but there were some good stories in here. So, on a routine afternoon, Shane Booth, a photography professor living in Benson, North Carolina, was folding laundry in his bedroom when he was startled by a loud crashing noise. He stepped out to find a shattered front window and his dog sitting outside it. He was confused. How could his dog have jumped through the window with enough force to break it? After cleaning up the glass, Mr. Booth came back to his room where all of the clothes he had just folded were scattered and strewn about. He said, "That's when I thought this is actually really scary now," said Mr. Booth, 45. In an interview, Mr. Booth described several other inexplicable, eerie encounters that have led him to believe that his century-old house is haunted. Pictures that he'd hung on the wall he'd later discover placed perfectly on the floor with no broken frames to indicate a fall. He noticed vases move to different locations, had momentary sightings of a ghost, and heard bellowing laughter when no one else was in the house. There's so many little things that sporadically happen that you just can't explain, he said. Then another person was Lisa Asbury, or maybe I missed an H there, but Asbury, has lived in her home. Asbury. She has lived in her home in Dunlap, Illinois for 3 years now. But the paranormal activity she's observed began in her old home in 2018, following the death of her husband's grandfather, and is identical to what she's been experiencing now. So she thinks that she's had ghosts follow her from place to place ever since her husband's grandfather's death. So she said that she's seen objects fly off shelves, lights flash in multiple rooms, and fan blades start turning suddenly. I'll hear my name being called when I'm alone, phantom footsteps, our dogs barking while staring at nothing, she added. But nothing has felt aggressive, just attention seeking. I believe our spirits to be family, she said. I get the feeling that we have different family members visit at different times. So, again, families watching over us.
Yeah.
Then the article goes on. It discusses a little bit about this survey that was given. I don't have the year, but it showed that 65% of Gen Zers, they say, believe in ghosts. Well, only 35.
65%.
Yes. So a vast majority. Only 35% of baby boomers do, though. So they wondered why there would be such a drastic generational difference in that statistic. And they said that they attribute the increasing belief in the supernatural to the rise of paranormal-related media, a decline in religious affiliation, and the pandemic, just like that article that you brought up.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and this person, she said also something interesting. Maddie Weirman, who is one of the researchers who conducted this survey, she said that Gen Z might be searching for meaning in new places. If the modern world they live in isn't providing food for the soul, if capitalism is a system that drains us of personal enlightenment, it's not hard to figure out that young people will search elsewhere for that and find the idea of an alternate world of ghosts, aliens, cryptids, etc. to be enticing to explore.
That's a good point. And I think, too, the thing I didn't think about is the decline in religious affiliation. But of course, like, it's like if you're truly Catholic, you can't believe in ghosts. But, you know, so like how many experiences have been like either suppressed or like ignored because it was like, well, no, that can't be.
Right. Yeah. Very true. So fascinating. But we're not Gen Z, but we fit right in.
We do fit right in.
Apparently.
I love it. What movie are you going to see?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, I kind of want to see it. You know what else I heard is really good? Is this the Super Mario Brothers movie is supposed to be really good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
We watched the trailer for that and decided against it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer, but you know what I'm so excited for? The Barbie movie.
Oh, yeah.
Let me guess as I'm saying it.
I'm excited for that too.
What were you going to guess?
Well, have you heard of the Renfield movie?
Yes, that is also very high on the list. Yes. You know how I feel about Dracula.
That's out now already. We were thinking about that one, but the showing was too late. So
there's also one called Evil Dead Rising that looks really scary.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go see with some friends maybe next week. So
spooky. There's also another horror that was like The Pope's Exorcist or something.
Yeah. I saw an ad for that too. There are a lot of scary movies out right now.
Yeah.
Scream. I still haven't seen the new Scream, which is crazy because I love that franchise so much. But just haven't had like a good time to go. But gotta catch up. Gotta catch up. Gotta catch them all. Jinx. Also, Radio Rental's back.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
Have you listened to it?
No, I haven't. I just saw the post on Instagram and I sent it to you on there, but I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I will be listening.
Well, enjoy your movie. And for all you spooky hoes, You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Girls Gone Spooky. If you have any scary Home Alone stories, fucking send them to girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. And I've decided we need to make a TikTok because you know what?
Oh,
Gotta stay
okay.
relevant. Gotta stay relevant. So I'm gonna work on that.
Okay.
But
Exciting.
so we'll see you there. Also, hopefully at Girls Gone Spooky. I'm gonna try and grab the handle tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise we will talk to you guys next week. And in the meantime, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.